So today we're going to learn about sparring. Sparring is a particular technique to try to improve your understanding, your intuition when you look at a position. And it's very simple. You identify a position you want to know better, and then you play that position over and over again against a strong engine. Uh, so why does that work? It works because you can see it's a combination of seeing good patterns and trying to execute patterns, trying to execute good patterns. So if you just see what the computer's going to do, it don't really remember it. If you just try things, you don't see what's going to be good. So this is a combination pairing these two things together. Okay, so let's see how it actually works. So this is a game that I played. I was playing black and felt I was doing pretty well. 2 pawns up, 2 passed pawn on the queen side. But I do have this problem where my knight's pinned. So I was trying to activate my rook. I tried to do this. It seemed like a good idea. It turned out to be pretty bad because he just attacks the knight on d5 and the pawn on h5 and the rook as well. So I have to come back. He takes the pawn. I unpin the knight. We trade knights. And in this position, it's probably already equal because I'm going to lose this f-pawn. And in this position, I lost on time. So that was a pretty bad version of what black could have done. So let's try and see how this could work better. So after knight e2, I want to see, let's try, this is the position I want to play out. So we're going to continue from here, play with the computer, play the computer at the highest level because we want to see good patterns here. Okay, so let's try this again. So rook g6 was terrible, but what if I try to break the pin on c5, like maybe rook here, and then when he attacks it, if he attacks it, yeah, then I go here. And we can take this pawn, but I can, or he can fork my king and rook. So I'm going to lose my exchange here, and probably going to lose this position. Okay, so that was terrible again. So let's see what the computer does. Rematch. So now, computer is going to take black. Okay, so the computer is running the a pawn. See, I didn't want to do that because everybody was defending each other, but I guess I was kind of lazy because this a pawn actually can move forward, and he is kind of difficult to stop. Okay, who's going to stop this guy? Let's try this guy. This knight's pinned, so he can't take him. Attacks the pawn. All right, so he's okay. So I want to attack it with a rook, but he's doing the important job of pinning this knight. So let's first safeguard my knight and block this pawn. Okay, so he's going to get behind the pawn, which is usually a good idea. Let me make him do that. So I'm going to attack this pawn. He's got to defend it. That's how he defends it. But now white has a problem. Okay, so the only thing that can help is the king. So I'm going to try and bring the king over because I can't move this knight because he's just going to run the pawn. Coming over here. Okay, so this isn't going to work because I'm going to lose this e-pawn. If I check him by discover check, he just takes it. Okay, so this is bad. So okay, we're going to try. I can see this was much better than what I did. All right, so trying again here. Hey, it does same idea. Nice. All right, so here. Once again, I get it right. Okay, so what did he? Computer did this. Try to get behind it. Makes sense. All right, so I can't get behind it because he's sort of locking me down to this knight here. Well, I don't want that. I'm going to unpin this knight, I think. I need to free these pieces up. Okay, so I got to take it. And okay, checks me. I'm going to go here. Okay, I've got to defend this guy. Well, so I kind of have two choices. I don't think I'm quite fast enough if he takes both of these pawns. There's got to be a win here somewhere. I'm gonna try to skewer maybe. Check. See if I can't switch fields here. I don't really think this is working. So I think black is probably at least a draw, but I don't think I'm winning this. So I want to see. I want to see what the computer does. Okay. So I resign this, and then we're gonna try this again. So this idea, coming to get the pawn, or at least stop him. Stop him. All right, so let's try the computer's idea of knight c3, keeping the rook on the d file. Okay, that's the same thing I did here, and then takes. So this looks a lot better than what I did. So I moved the king up, but then it allowed the white rook to get behind this a pawn. But now he cannot because the rook covers a6. So the only way I see to stop this, because black's gonna play rook a6 next, so is to get in front of it. Okay. Yep, you gotta go in front of it. Okay, so now I can see this is gonna be a big problem for white, because this rook now cannot move anywhere. In fact, I bet I'm gonna resign this. I bet I could win this as black. Okay, so let's try this again. So here, transfer to try to get to the a file, unpin, takes, and critically rook d6, so you can make sure you get behind the pawn. Obviously you can't trade because this pawn's way too far for the king catch. Okay, so he did a2, sure. Okay, so now, okay, I'm just gonna try and, I think this usually, so the problem is that it's basically a king and pawn ending where black has infinite tempi, because white's rook just can't move. Because if he ever moves, then the pawn just gets queens defended. All right, so I don't want to get checkmated by playing rook king h3, but this is the point: is that I can just play it like a king and pawn ending. Kind of curious if you're just gonna let me. Okay, this should work. So the thing is, I keep. Yeah, this is easy. So he can win that a pawn, but the h pawn queens. Okay. All right, I can win this. Okay, so that is an example of sparring. We took a position that I did not know very well, and I learned something about it, which is these pawns, I figured these pawns were stopped. They are not. This b pawn is definitely stopped, but the a pawn is not, and it is better for me to use it as a threat to I wanted to activate my rook and activate my pieces as quickly as I could, but that didn't work that well. What did work was loosening things up by trying to queen this a pawn and forcing white to defend it. So he had to defend passively, and once the rook had to defend, the white rook had to defend from a1, and the black's rook was behind it, it was just all over. All right, and that's fine. Thanks so much.